Hello everybody and welcome to the Kirby's Epic Yarn playthrough. I'm finally getting to a Kirby game! Ha ha! And to be fair, it had to be the first Kirby game that I ever played. It may not be a typical Kirby game, but it's still a wonderful little title. And I felt this is the perfect way for me to begin whatever Kirby journey I'm going to go on. Now, obviously, we've got a reasonably sort of lengthy cutscene at the beginning, so I will deign to be quiet so you get to hear the wonderful narrator. 'Cause he is pretty gosh darn awesome.
Welcome to Dreamland, a kingdom famous for peace and quiet. It's the perfect little land, if you like that sort of thing. Lately there have been rumours of a caped sorcerer going around, turning people into yarn. That's right, yarn. One day, Kirby saw his favourite food, a bright red tomato on top of a bush. I bet it's yummy, but when Kirby tried to eat it, a caped sorcerer appeared. My name is... Hey, what are you doing? Stop that! No! That's my magic Metamato! Kirby gulped the Metamato right down. Just then, a white sock around the sorcerer's neck began to glow. Then it sucked Kirby up. This grass feels funny, Kirby thought. It feels like trousers. And to Kirby's surprise, he saw that his entire body was made out of yarn. Then he saw a yarn monster chasing a blue yarn boy. Somebody help me! Kirby tried to swallow the monster up, but the air went right through his body. Kirby wondered what he should do. Suddenly, Kirby transformed into a car. He drove away with the boy and left the monster behind to eat his dust. Apparently, that strange Metamato gave Kirby the power to seamlessly transform into a car, and who knows what else.
So, we are introduced to the yarn world. Well, it's called Patchland, but everything is made out of yarn, and this thing just looks... this game, it's adorable. Like, there is literally no other way of describing it. It is so cute and sweet, and just, oh my god. I remember when the game came out, just playing it and just being absolutely enamoured with this. Like, it's very simple and really very easy. I mean, all you're doing is running through the levels, picking up beads. You physically cannot die, which is obviously a big thing that quite a few people don't like in games. They like it when there is a fail state, because it indicates challenge. But the thing is that I don't think this game really needed any sort of fail state. It's just a really fun, adorable, relaxing little game. And I think that what they created works really quite wonderfully. And also, because you have no real fail state, the challenge then becomes more in trying to get the gold ranks, trying to find all of the collectibles in every single level. And that's just really quite fun. I mean, it's basically the same reason that I am so fond of Prince of Persia 2008. It's because of that whole... It's just a relaxing, fun game to play. It may not provide any of that challenge that so many people want, but it's still a lot of fun to play. Now, before we get any further, I should probably just give you a little bit of background on Epic Yarn. So, it is developed by Goodfeel and HAL Laboratory, published by Nintendo, directed by Kentaro Sei, produced by Etsunobu Ebisu, Yuichi Yamamoto, and Nobuo Matsumiya. Main designer on the project is Madoka Yamauchi. Main programmer is Hironori Kuroaka. The artists are Tetsuya Notoya, Rieko Kawahara, and Yumiko Sano. Music is composed by Tomoya Tomita. And it was released in Japan October 14th, 2010, then in America October 17th, 2010, and then for some ridiculous reason Australia and Europe didn't get it until February 24th, 25th, 2011. I think it's because they wanted to go in and change a whole bunch of things. Well, in the end they didn't. They only changed like the descriptions for a few of the collectibles, and also the, well, for the the UK release at least, we got a different narrator to the American release, and that is something that I'll go into when this cutscene's over, because it's also really adorable.
Ripped Patchland into 7 pieces. You just can't go anywhere without running into these horrible... But Fluff was interrupted when they were attacked by a huge 3-eyed blob of yarn. Yuck! Stop it! But before the blob could eat Prince Fluff, Kirby transformed and smashed it to smithereens in a most spectacular fashion. Among the little blob bits there was a shimmering piece of spiraling yarn. "That's it, that's a piece of the magic yarn," Fluff exclaimed. This was what Prince Fluff had been looking for. Yin Yarn had stolen the magic yarn from Patchland. The yarn weaved its way into the fabric of the kingdom and stitched 2 pieces of Patchland together. What about the other pieces? I've got to find the rest of them. Kirby, always happy to help, decided to help his friend recover the missing pieces, and the two began their journey to stitch Patchland back together.
And so we begin our journey. But first we're probably going to have to speak to that fella there, because he looks like he's gunning for a chat, if you ask me. Unfortunately, there is nothing to do around here just yet, but they will become important a little bit later on. But in the meantime, here we have Dom Wool. Because, yay, puns. There's going to be lots of fabric and textile related puns throughout this game. And, yeah, it's all really adorable. Now, what Dom Wool has here is basically... is essentially the side quest for the game. As you progress, you'll pick up more and more of the collectibles throughout the levels, and these collectibles act as furniture for these flats. Domwall basically wants to make this the most successful place that he possibly can. So, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to furnish the other flats using items that you pick up in the levels. Once you furnish the flat exactly how it should be, because there will be silhouettes in the rooms that will indicate what they expect to be in there. once you do that, then a tenant will appear, and then that tenant will give you a whole bunch of challenges and games to do, which will then unlock you fabrics, which you can then use to furnish more rooms, pretty much. So if you want to go for 100% in this game, you're going to have to do all of those challenges. In this particular playthrough, I will be showing off one of every single challenge. I will be showing off doing the rooms up, getting the tenants in, doing the one challenge, but that is going to be it, because there are far too many challenges to go through in a reasonable amount of time, and they do get particularly repetitive. So I'm not going to make you suffer through that. Still, it's time to begin our first proper level, and oh, it's so wonderful. Just this piece of music. It's just absolutely glorious. It's just so charming and happy-go-lucky, and it's just so whimsical. Like, you just can't help but fall in love with it. It's insane. Now, I was mentioning before the cutscene started that Kirby's Epic Yarn has obviously the narrator, but he's different depending on the version that you're playing. Obviously, if it's the Japanese version of the game, then you get the Japanese narrator. But while the Americans got David Frederick White as the narrator, who you should recognise as the voice of General Pepper, Rob64, Pigma Dengar, and Andros from Star Fox 64, Star Fox 64 3D, and Star Fox Zero. In the UK version, we actually got Paul Vaughan to do the narration. Now, most people probably won't recognise that name, but he is was a very well-respected British journalist, radio presenter, and so on throughout the 1970s and 1980s. Essentially, from 1968 until 1995, he was the main narrator of the BBC's main science documentary series, Horizon. So, he was very, very influential. He also presented the Radio 4 magazine art programme Kaleidoscope from its beginning in 1973 until its closure in 1998. So that was very important. And also when the phone network Orange, which is now EE, was launched, for many years his voice, using the tagline "The future's bright, the future's orange," was used exclusively for the TV adverts. And also, he was one of the most widely heard voices for Tesco's Every Little Help adverts and Colgate toothpaste adverts. So he did a lot of things, and he was also a self-taught clarinetist in both jazz and classical music, and played in many concerts, so he's a very, very impressive guy. And he's just got one of those really, really wonderful voices. I mean, there's an article which I think goes over his career, basically. And he was 85 when he did the narration for Kirby's Epic Yarn. And it's just so wonderful. I mean, it kind of taps into... It's like having your granddad tell you a story, and it's just really nice, warm feeling. Just warms the cockles of your heart. I mean, it's essentially the same reason why Bernard Cribbins is such a wonderful narrator. It's exactly the same type of thing. And for anyone who doesn't know who Bernard Cribbins is, and you really should, obviously he is Wilfred Mott, aka Donna's granddad in Doctor Who. But he also actually had originally played Tom Campbell in the Doctor Who feature film Daleks Invasion Earth 2150 AD, which is really cool that he was in both. But basically, Cribbins narrated The Wombles, which was a BBC children's TV series that ran for 40 episodes between 1973 and 1975, and obviously was very, very, very influential, and Bernard Cribbins is absolutely wonderful. But we have reached the end of this level, pretty much, and we have the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Kirby Tank, which is just so much fun to play as. I mean, so it's called the Tank Bot, obviously, because it's a tank and it's a robot. And there's a few little Easter eggs with this. So the music that always plays while in the Tank Bot form is actually a remix of the power-up music from Kirby's Dreamland. The exact music remix was actually previously used for Metal's alternate theme in Kirby Air Ride. And also, if you press the A button and hold it, the Tank Bot's headlights will turn on. But you're probably not really going to be focused all that much on that, because you're going to be trying to shoot all the enemies and get all of the beads. Now, I should have probably also pointed out, throughout the levels, there are the collectibles. There are also these bits of the bonus wheel that you want to collect. If you collect all of them, it just means that you've got a higher chance of getting more beads at the end of the level, which could be the difference between you getting a silver medal and a gold medal. And certainly it's going to come down to the wire in a certain few instances throughout this playthrough. Because some of the levels are a little bit more difficult to collect the necessary number of beads in. But either way, we beat that level, we got a patch, and we've unlocked another level. Basically, this is how we are going to proceed. Is you beat a level, you get a patch, you go to the next level. It's all really wild and wonderful, because you get these wonderful little animations that open up the next level, and it's always a joy to see how that goes. And really, just this entire game just makes me feel so very happy. I think just because it's so cute that you physically can't hate it. Or at least I certainly can't hate it. I'm sure there's somebody out there who finds this to be an abhorrent video game because it's boring, maybe? But either way, I have to say, I have no idea how well this commentary is going to go in terms of me having any major sorts of trivia to go through, because I don't think there is actually a whole lot on Epic Yarn out there, but certainly I will deign to look out for it as we go along. Now, here's something that's rather interesting to note, is while the Waddle Dees can't actually harm you, because, I mean, well, unless they fling themselves into you, you just sort of bounce off them, which is just really, really cute. There are obviously enemies that can hurt you. Anything with a spike, yeah, that's gonna try and kill you, and it's not going to end well. But as long as you don't get hit by an attack, generally you'll be okay. The main problem with running into enemies is that you will bounce off them, and that may fling you into a pit. And if you get flung into a pit, then you're going to have to be saved by Angie, which is a little creature. And you will then lose a whole bunch of beads, which is obviously not good, because then that means that you are at risk of getting really heavily screwed over. And what's really quite interesting is that the character Ranji is never really formally introduced as a character in the game. And I don't think she has ever featured in a game ever again. So she was literally just in here. Which is really quite bizarre, but either way, you will see her at some point, don't worry. And I will say that this... well, it's technically a walkthrough, because it's every... I'm aiming for every collectible in the game, as well as every single gold medal. Because this is the type of game that you try and play to completion. Because it's just so fun, and it's just a really nice, relaxing time to try and complete. A few certain levels which I would say are hugely frustrating. But on the whole, it's a good time. Obviously, as I said, I won't be doing all of the optional tenant missions, so it's not technically 100% playthrough, this one, but it's close enough in my mind. And now we get another Metamato transformation, which is the UFO. Obviously the UFO is a pretty big mainstay of the Kirby series, but forms a little bit different in this game, and it's really fun. Because you're just gently floating along, sucking things up and exploderizing anything that decides it wants to try and kill you. I mean, the main thing that you've got to do, make sure, is that you time your explosive blasts carefully so that you can actually, you know, make it through. And also, for the love of God, don't get hit like that. I mean, what I was trying to say is that because you need to suck up about 3 or 4 enemies, so you've got to make sure that you make the most of your blast, because otherwise it may be wasted, and you may have to try and find some more enemies. But either way, that is the end of the second level. It's time to continue onwards with this adorable, adorable game.